It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday, the 22nd day of July, 2013. And we are going to be live here for the next 3 hours, Lord willing. Larry Elder, who stood up against Piers Morgan last week, exposing the fact that the media is race baiting and trying to create division, is going to be joining us in the second hour, and we'll take your calls then as well, on the deepening racial divisions being openly, nakedly, disgustingly engineered by the kleptocratic authoritarian liberals. And again, they're not liberals, ladies and gentlemen. I take great umbrage with the fact that they're called liberals or progressives. They are neo-Malthusian, neo-feudalist who want a command and control economy and a publicly stagnated and reversed society under Agenda 21. And the problem is the so-called Republican leadership is part of the very same guild on so many fronts. The establishment likes to have some opposition in the power structure so that one group can't get too powerful and unseat the hereditary oligarchs themselves that sit above the puppet governing class. But I've got a lot of news, obviously, I want to get to today. Ed Asner is going to be popping in as well. And we will have open phones starting in the first hour. Now, this morning, watching television early this morning and then listening to television on XM and then tuning into local radio, I was ashamed to hear nothing but on its face, royal worship. It is 24/7 coverage. On every channel, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, all of it, NBC, ABC, CBS, on and on and on, every single channel. And it made me think of Edward Bernays, the father of modern propaganda, and what he said about royalty and how they would create an artificial royalty in this country of the governing class and of the Hollywood class, fusing the two, and then selling Americans values based on celebrity, empty celebrity, instead of having a culture based on liberty and freedom and the family and development. When this country was the dominant force in the world in its first 170, 180 years or so, the rock stars were inventors. They were scientists, they were trailblazers, they were investigators, they were heroes, they were people that made sacrifices, they were people that went against the grain. And the social engineers saw that, so they created the fake 60s movement and things that was meant to look like it was anti-establishment on the surface, but was actually an establishment salvo pointed right at the life force of this country and of the world. So I'm going to be getting to that after I take some phone calls. The toll-free number to join us for first-time callers in this first hour, first-time callers on any subject, any question, any comment you have. People always call in plugging things, too, because the phones are so open. You can do that, but you better talk about some news issues or give me your take on things first. 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231, and we will get you up and on the air. But I will give you my take on the royal birth. Yeah, the whole world is breathless right now, awaiting the incredible announcement, the magical announcement, MSNBC said when I was in the car, of it's a boy or a girl. And I tell you, they're very progressive now. If it's a woman, she will she will end up being the queen. She will not be passable for a male, which makes the monarchy incredibly progressive. The most ancient tyrannical form of government, now being lauded and pushed as progressive. As long as it's a woman, it's okay. As long as Barack Obama is black, it's okay if he drops bombs on innocent people, because then it's trendy. We'll be right back. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're here live. And then, of course, I return 7 o'clock Central weeknights with myself and my great crew with InfoWars Nightly News. I will be hosting InfoWars Nightly News tonight, 7 o'clock Central. And then, of course, there is the Sunday transmission as well, 4 to 6 p.m. Central. The news websites are Infowars.com and, of course, PrisonPlanet.com, as well as the nightly news site, InfoWarsNews.com. All right, here's what I want to do. I want to shake up the broadcast, and I talk about this a lot, never seem to get around to it. I want to go to your phone calls out of the gates today, and then in the second half of the hour, kind of flip the script, then go to the news. And we are going to get into CIA-back's $630,000 study into how to control global weather through geoengineering. That's the London Independent, and the only reason they're covering it is as a public study. Ladies and gentlemen, there is $5 billion a year. You can just type that into a search engine, being spent by the Department of Energy in weather modification programs. The programs are admitted, the money is admitted, what they're doing is classified. And their response, this is also in the London Guardian is reporting on the Department of Energy spending billions of dollars in geoengineering, billions. Bill Gates has spent more than $20 billion in the last 15 years or so on these programs. And he does it all tax exempt. He gets government contracts with a tax exempt company he's got. Don't believe me? Just type in Bill Gates has weather control company that aims to create and steer and kill and control hurricanes. That's mainstream news. But, oh, yeah, there's London Guardian. Bill Gates backs climate scientists lobbying for large-scale geoengineering. But when I talk about this, what does Rachel Maddow do? She comes out and says, Alex Jones says Obama sent the tornado. When I said, I don't believe Obama sent the tornado. But I said, you never know, because there's been so much weather modification. Their weather modification could have been connected to that. The weather's been altered. It's a chain reaction. But I said, tornadoes are at a 60-year low. It probably wasn't. That turns into Esquire and Bloomberg and Associated Press calling my office saying they want comments on how Obama sent the tornado. Now, again, this didn't particularly hurt me. I use it as an example, though, of the type of stuff they're making up, the things they're doing. And there it is. Maddow hammers crackpot Alex Jones, Oklahoma tornado weather weapon conspiracy theory. And I keep going back to that because that's now the meme that the White House-run Media Matters kicked off that they're still pushing. They don't say I'm lying about billions of bullets and thousands of armored vehicles and domestic plans to take our guns on record, if they can get away with it. They don't talk about the domestic drones. That's been admitted, or the NSA spying on us, or our government training with foreign troops for domestic security operations, or $85 billion a month given to foreign offshore banks of taxpayer money, or all the government narcotics trafficking and big banks openly announcing world government, and Obama signing an executive order to expand carbon taxes outside of Congress. Or how Obama and the globalists are doing everything they can to deindustrialize us and ship our jobs overseas, while Obama goes on a tour of baloney and BS, Bravo Sierra, to tell everybody that he's trying to get the economy going. No, no, ladies and gentlemen, it's all that I said Obama sent a tornado. They are a pack of liars. So that's the kind of news that's coming up. Larry Elder's going to be joining us. He's been sparring with the establishment race baiters like the tiny viewership, Redcoatus Maximus, Jolly Rogerus, Piers Morganus. So that's coming up. We're going to get into, of course, what we reported years ago, now confirmed. Germany is involved with the NSA, spying on everything. Oh, incredible news. That's all over mainstream media. They all get Pulitzer Prizes for it. We're going to get into the latest on the economy that I was just mentioning, and so much more today. A jam-packed transmission. And I'm also, speaking of Red Coatus Maximus, I'm going to get into, at the bottom of the hour, the parallels between British royalty and the way that propaganda is sold, and the way they can get, on average, over 70% of Brits to say they support the monarchy. It's the similar psychology and formulae that they've used to turn Obama into the peacenik trendy when he's really a fascistic, warmongering, foaming at the mouth dictator. He may leave office, but the presidency is being turned into a dictatorship. And I've been saying that for years. And the mainstream media has a meme of, where's the dictatorship? Where's the martial law? Gee, I don't know, warrantless checkpoints all over the country, government spying on you without warrants, forced inoculations going on outside of law from Alabama to California. Pension funds, public and private, being looted en masse. I've got articles on that today. Major cities going bankrupt, from California to Michigan, from Florida to New York, from Iowa to Tennessee, all by design, all actuaried out. This is the reality. And we are being eased into the collapse of society to consolidate control, and only being aware of the fact that it is a planned, engineered, purposeful breaking of the social contract to move to a system of authoritarianism, because the establishment has said in the Club of Rome documents and all the rest, they're not going to let the general public have access to the new technologies, the new free energy systems, the clean energy systems. They're going to give us fake energy systems that are just boondoggles and payoffs to themselves. They want, in their own words, a neo-feudalistic form of global fascism. That is the Bilderberg Group's own statements. That's Club of Rome. I have it bibliographed on the site, whatistheendgame.com, and in that film, that seminal film, if you want to go see where it's at. This is the reality of what we face as a society. And it's very painful to see this unfolding in our culture, and to see the hereditary dictators of England, who aren't even British. They're not Scottish. They're not Irish. They're not Celtic. They're not Celtic. They're not from Gaul. They're not from even Germania, really. Nothing against Romanians, nothing against Transylvanians, but that's really who they are, is a group of people that beat the Muslim invasion of Eastern and Western Europe. You know, the Muslims, before the Crusade drove them back, this is just history, seized all the way into areas of Germany and into Poland. And so I guess their argument is, we have a right to rule. I've got to, if there's any reason to give the Transylvanian royalty a little, these are the progeny. They are the royal bloodline of Vlad the Impaler. He has a name. It's called Count Dracula. Dracul, the dragon. And so that's their argument. That's why they say that they are really allowed to rule. And they say that they are related going back all the way. You can look this up. The Queen was coronated on the stone that's up in Scotland, the Stone of Destiny. They say that they go all the way back to Abraham. And that then the royal family moved into what is Transylvania today and stopped the invasion. You see, everything is just an endless prism, an endless kaleidoscope of history and data. Yeah, there it is, London Telegraph. Prince Charles, heir to Dracula bloodline. Yeah, he lives there, actually, more than England now. He lives in the Dracula Castle. He actually has bought, 3 castles last time I checked there, and one of them is the Dracul Castle. A new castle was built, I don't know, I think they said 500 years ago on the ruins of the old 2,000-year-old castle, but that Vlad moved into when it was already ancient. Look at the likeness between him and Vlad the Impaler. So that's who they are, and we had a war with these people in 1776. They'd never been beaten by anybody. No one had beaten them. Not the Spanish, not the Portuguese, not the French, not the Dutch, not the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, not the Russians. No one had ever beaten this group of people using the strong folks there in the UK, there in the British Isles. And then we beat them. And then now you turn the television on and there's 24/7 worship of these people on and on and on. And it makes me sick at my stomach. Now, here's some of the articles up on Infowars.com. This is exclusive footage of the birth of the royal baby. It is hilarious satire, ladies and gentlemen. And if you go to The Real Alex Jones on Twitter, I may even take it down. It may even be distasteful for me. But I love to defile royalty because it flies in the face of everything. You know, individualism should be why you're successful, not some government and of armed forces suppressing the people while old ladies have their power turned off, so that hundreds of palaces can be heated in the winter. That's on record. So I showed an exclusive leaked photo of the birth of the royal baby. And, of course, the sex of the baby has now been discovered. So there's two pieces of satire, one up on The Real Alex Jones on Twitter, and then exclusive footage of birth of royal baby. But first, your call straight ahead, but that's up on Infowars.com. All right, coming up, I'm going to give you my in-depth take on the British royal family. People say, well, that's a diversion. I thought it's a diversion. No, I'm going to break down how they've set up the distraction, because I actually have video of this. I was driving in, and this woman had a big Union Jack bumper sticker, about 4 times the size of a regular bumper sticker. It was probably 10 inches by 14 inches. I mean, it was a giant. And again, I have footage of this, but I'm going to upload it in high def. And a giant life-size Queen of England, like she's sticking out of the back of the Durango or whatever, Dodge vehicle it was, SUV. It's like she's coming out the back window, and it's Queen Elizabeth II, and she's holding an American flag in her hand. So they actually have a little paper flag, little plastic flag attached to her hand, and it says, "Long live the Queen." And I almost ran into the lady trying to get up close to her in traffic to get video of it, but I'll upload that. Unbelievable. And then just wall-to-wall, disgusting worship, just mindless fawning, where the reporters are almost laughing. They know how ridiculous this is, of people in 17th century military outfits being worshipped. And then I tweeted a satire image that I saw on the hike and bike trail this morning. It was one of those things about this is a dog pooping station. So I took a photo of it and said, exclusive photo of the birth of the baby as a joke. And there's people commenting on there going, you're just jealous that you don't have the same pedigree. So I thought it was funny. It says utilize mutt-mitt stations. And my whole point is, who says these people are the elitist and we're the scum? They're so inbred that most of Queen Elizabeth II's sisters got locked up in mental institutions. Look it up. I mean, just totally inbred, raving loons. Absolute mental illness. That's well known that most of the Egyptian pharaohs died at about age 15. This ruler died at 9. This ruler died at 7. This ruler died at 19. This ruler was long-lived and lived to 25. Meanwhile, the local villagers would live to be 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years old. Oh, that's real elitist. No, you take over. Kim Jong-un's grandfather takes over North Korea, and then you become the king. You become the ruler. See, I said I'd go to your phone calls. I'm going to go to your phone calls, and then I'll get into all this. And Paul Watson has a great video up comparing the British royalty to the worship of Kim Jong-il when he died. I mean, it is just as mindless. And it's a peer pressure thing. Exclusive footage of birth of royal baby. Incredible satire up on Infowars.com right now. Please make this go viral. Let's go ahead and go to Denise in Minnesota. You're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Hi. Listen, I just wanted to make a comment on your Sunday show. I thought it was one of the best explanations between you and Pastor Manning of showing how all of the divisiveness that's happened with what's going on right now with the Trayvon Martin case. But you can go back, and they do this to everything and everybody. They've done it to the Native Americans. They've done it to the blacks. They're doing it now to the whites. They've done it to the Muslims. They've done it to the Jews. And to me, it's all about nobody is an individual.
That's right. The globalists do not want you to be an individual. They want you to be about your race or your sexual preference or whatever and obsess on that all day instead of what art do you produce? What literature? What do you stand for? I saw guys on the hike and bike trail yesterday volunteering on a big gully to dig a ditch to divert the water. And I thought, man, what a valuable thing on their own going out and volunteering to do a good work like that. How satisfying it is to improve things and build things and do things. And the average yuppie just like, no, I get ahead by only caring about myself. But when everybody truly volunteers as individuals to do the right thing, it builds an incredible culture. But when we say, oh, the government handles it, it creates a nightmare.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, and isn't that sad? Isn't it sad what they've done to everybody and everything?
Well, it's total divide and conquer where people think it's like a football game, black versus white or whatever, to turn on the news, and all it's about is a dead teenager, which is a sad story, but they take that individual and then make it all about that to, again, create the division. But actor James Woods put out the tweet saying, you know, why isn't Obama concerned about other dead teenagers like the wounded warriors and people, the veterans? No. It's only about this so that he can appease to race politics, so that it's all about, oh, look, I give you race politics. I don't give you jobs. I don't give you dignity. I don't give you a future. I'm shutting down your power plants. I'm shutting down your jobs. If you want to know why we're becoming slaves and losing every basic liberty, it's because we value tripe. We value fluff. We value soap opera culture, drama queen culture. Oh, it's the old-timers that didn't trust the government. They were stupid. Oh, really? They were stupid? No, we've been stupid. And if you know how hard the great people of the UK and the great people of the subgroups of the United Kingdom, how hard the Irish and the Scots and the Welsh and all the people of those isles fought against the Norman invaders, and then those bloodlines died out, and they brought over the Transylvanian crew about 270 years ago or so. If you realize that our ancestors, anybody who has a name like Jones, or anybody that has a name like Chapman, I mean, one of the most common names, a group of names, are English names and Scottish names and Irish names in this country. Our ancestors, all of us had ancestors killed en masse by British royalty, who were not British royalty. I mean, everybody knew these were conquerors. Everyone hated them. Everyone cursed them for over 1,000 years. And they fought and would behead kings and try to get liberty in Magna Carta. And the first thing that Tony Blair did in 1996 when he got elected, and the BBC was the headline, Tony Blair, my goal is to abolish Magna Carta. Will you guys search that? Tony Blair, I will abolish Magna Carta. That was the headline, BBC. Folks, Magna Carta, conservatively, hundreds of thousands of people died just in a off and on again, decade-long group of wars to give you Magna Carta. I mean, you think the government's out of control now, folks? That's where due process, private property rights, warrants, jurisdictions, all of it comes out of that. And imagine Imagine Tony Blair declaring war on your freedom at the direction of the Queen of England. Because the Queen's speech, she gives her speech, and then that's the directive of the Prime Minister. She wanted Magna Carta gone. The Queen of England shooting her fat mouth off, her son running around calling for deindustrialization of the British Isles, calling for the deindustrialization of our country while his holdings have moved to China. Watson put it in his video where they admitted that old people would get on buses all night for the bus fare to have heat because their gas allotment was turned off. And it turned out the Queen of England was heating over 100 palaces with no one in them with a welfare gas allotment. And then Blair puts out all this doublespeak about how he would abolish the monarchy if backbenchers called for it. So then conservatives see that as a EU globalist attack because it's true. About all they've got left as a British culture is the monarchy, and even that is alien. And there's the Queen of England and others working with the globalists to get rid of UK independence while the UK independence people defend the monarchy. And I even get the perspective because it's the only culture they've got. You can't even have the UK flag out. What is it, the King George flag? It's the white one with the red cross. That's considered racist in England. That's the anti-sovereignty movement is so strong that in the media, and Watson's talked about this, if you fly that at your house, the police will come to your door and say, what are you doing flying that flag? I mean, this is how insane it is. So my indictment of the British monarchy is an indictment because the system is fawning over something that is alien to the people being in charge. We are the sovereign. We are above the government. The law comes from us, and we have the right to abolish the government if it becomes destructive of the Declaration of Independence. Read the Declaration of Independence. And then I read articles where, oh, British scholars come to the universities and call for the abolishment of the Declaration of Independence and say that it should be made illegal. Type that in. That's BBC. Should the Declaration of Independence be illegal? That was last year. Articles in the Philadelphia Daily News and in the New York Times and the BBC. Let's abolish the Declaration of Independence because it talks ill of King George III. And then I saw a woman with the Queen of England on her car today, a big giant cutout of it saying, God bless our Queen, or God save our Queen. I've got video of it. Yeah, there it is. Is the U.S. Declaration of Independence illegal? And then it's got feds arguing in the U.S. that, yes, it's an anti-government document because it says we are the masters, not some government god like Obama, not some government god like Kim Jong-un, a third-generation royalty in North Korea. I mean, we look at Kim Jong-un and all of his ridiculous outfits and laugh at him. I mean, the Queen of England's outfits and Prince William's outfits and Prince Harry's outfits and Prince Charles's outfits and all of the, and the Duchess of this and the Duke of that. I mean, I'm about to vomit all over myself, and the fawning, simpering after this makes me want to throw up. And if you look at Edward Bernays, the father of modern propaganda, who ran so many, he ran the feminist movement. He wrote 3 books on it. One of them is Propaganda. I've read all 3. The books are free online, by the way. You can find the text of them online. And this is stuff written in the 20s and 30s and 40s. He ran the Department of War PSYOPs. And he said, let's not call it war. Let's not be honest. Let's call it the Department of Defense, because war is peace. And Bernays went on to say in the 20s, we're going to merge Hollywood with these big newsreel filmed and radio broadcast events with Hollywood as soon as the talkies got popular, the talking movies, with the politicians to make them royal and bring in red carpets and bring in all these extra guards to make it like royalty so that the people feel small. And he talked about, you know, this has been known for thousands of years, that government buildings must be the biggest and most imposing to make the public feel small and powerless. This is all part of the projection of power. But we must merge that into a love, and the people will love their servitude. Aldous Huxley wrote about this in Brave New World Revisited, the nonfiction book. and talked about it. And they sit there laughing at you. I mean, you've got people that billions and billions of pounds of money. I think in U.S. numbers, something like $6 billion a year spent on the royal family. They have allowances of hundreds of millions of pounds apiece. They have their own trains, a fleet of more than 50 aircraft. Last time I checked, wide-bodied jumbo jets, ocean liners personally, jet copters. Prince Charles has over 100 palaces. And folks, when I say a palace, I mean huge, sprawling compounds that have patronage, royal patronage, where you'll have hundreds of square miles that are a palace, that are the palace grounds where they grow their own organic food. They have their own people living there like peasants. This is in documentaries about it, who get to eat non-GMO, and they're in their own little fortified. They always say the Queen of England has no power. But then she doesn't allow billboards on her right-of-way. That's why you don't see billboards in the UK. She randomly exercises power and shuts down major roads in London every day, and sometimes shuts down major rivers. To exercise her power. She owns more than half the land in Canada, more than a third of the land in Australia and New Zealand. These places never got out from under them. Every time they vote to do something she doesn't want, the Governor General suspends Parliament, suspends the legislatures, and then restacks the deck. And then Canadians and Australians go, how dare you say the Queen runs things? That's not true, because they don't want to be told that. Kind of like the National Security Council runs things here. Doesn't matter what Congress does. They do whatever they want. We are a conquered people, and we're becoming more conquered every day. The chains are getting heavier. The ball and chains are getting bigger. We have to reverse this now. And when I watch the simpering, oh, it's incredible. In fact, I even have video of it in Royal Baby, gender leaked. It's a parasite, a joke video I did, but it has real MSNBC audio that I shot this morning off and on with my commentary, as she's going, oh, it's incredible. The magic letter will soon be sent by a courier from some of the royal staff. And then she's sycophantically, will be taken and we'll learn the gender. And the great part about royalty now is, if it's a baby girl, she will be the queen. She will not be passed over by a later male heir. This makes it so progressive, and it's why the people of England, 76% love it. Now the institution of royalty, hereditary fiefdom, paid for by the people. A giant parasite announcing, Prince Charles, Philip, all of them, that you shouldn't be able to take a hot bath. You can search that. Prince Charles says, don't take a hot bath. This is a guy who has giant private diesel trains, huge jet copters, wide-body jet aircraft. And he's like, I believe you should not take a hot bath. We need a tax on the bath. Heating of the water is not proper and contributes to the carbon footprint. Love your servitude. Love your indentured servitude. Obama, you can't have a hot bath. You can't have a car. You can't have air conditioning in Africa because it'll hurt the earth, while they're suppressing all the real technologies and then coming out with big boondoggles that don't even get built to their friends. They always create a counterfeit. And so this cult of Obama, where most polls, and I've talked to Brits, I'd say about half of them support the monarchy, or under peer pressure they feel like it. The media puts out fake polls of 76 to 80% to create a fake unity or kind of a fake consensus. And it's the same thing with Obama. He's the royalty. He's the new Christ. He's going to save everyone. He's going to give you milk and honey. He's going to give you free houses, free cars, free health care. And it doesn't matter if he raises payroll taxes on the poorest Americans. It doesn't matter if it doesn't cover pre-existing conditions and it's a giant ripoff written by foreign banks. It doesn't matter if it has death panels. It doesn't matter because you've already bought into the con game. Oh, the Queen. Oh, look, everyone's loving it. It is the emperor's new clothes. These people are butt-naked tyrants, nakedly exercising parasitic activities. But they have all the media. What's going to be eaten on the menu? They're going to have a nice pea soup, and they're going to just fawning sycophantically hour after hour, day after day. with people dressed up in Walt Disney outfits sitting there, when these are people on record that funded Hitler so they could then destroy him, and openly funded knocking off their cousins, the czars, to put the communist in 10 times worse. I mean, these people are the hereditary greatest mass murderers the world has ever seen, and my country is in such a coma. And under all this glitz, oh my gosh, the Queen, and women on the street, what do you think of it? I just love the Queen, and I just love the princess, while old people freeze in their homes, freeze to death in some cases, on record, because the government says we're cutting off your gas allotment. Unbelievable barbarism. All right, I'm done. I said I'd go to your calls. Matthew in Texas, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going, Alex?
Good, sir. Well, welcome. Worldwide broadcast. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a huge listener. I'm in Austin, Texas, and I wanted to first off say thank you for fighting a good fight. And my question to you is, what do you think about this whole thing in Houston with the police chief telling those anti-protesters in the Trayvon Martin thing not to show up with their guns? If you've heard anything about that.
Yes, I saw that in the news this morning. I meant to tell the crew it may even be in a stack I didn't look at this morning because I got here late. Well, I got here early, but had to meet with the newspaper on the latest issue. Guys, will you print me? Houston police chief says don't bring your guns. Yes, I saw that. And again, you have a right to have your guns openly as long as you're not threatening with them. Just like a cop isn't allowed to threaten you for no reason with a gun. That happened in Tucson where the cops come in and one of them just pulls a gun on the attendant for no reason just to menace him and be on a power trip. That cop's been rightfully fired, and he should be prosecuted for terroristic threat and brandishing a weapon. But as long as you're there with your weapon slinged, that is the right of a free man. And I don't particularly like the counter-protest to the new Black Panther Party and people. It's your right to do it because I think it adds power to it. It stirs it up more when this is all a psyop. But then you've almost got to march armed down in Houston if they try to, by fiat, say don't bring your guns. Well, why is the new Black Panther Party? I mean, I don't agree with a lot of the racist stuff they spew, but I've said good job for them. They've marched armed with shotguns many times in Houston. And look, I mean, look, the Klan has a right to march with shotguns. The new Black Panther, Black Klan has a right. The Mecha La Reconquista, as long as they're U.S. citizens, have a right to march armed. If they're not, it's then insurrection. But the police chief does not have a monopoly on this. I think it's disgusting. What do you say?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely terrible. And I don't think he has a right to even make an opinion about this, just like President Obama didn't have a right to talk about the case to begin with. I've never heard of a president, and tell me if I'm wrong, Alex, that has commented so strongly on a criminal case.
Well, I tell you, yes, sir, they were popping in my ear saying they had the article, but go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no, I've never heard of a president, and I listened to NPR. I made the mistake of listening to NPR later that day after all this came out, and you should have heard some of the terrible things they were saying. They were saying, well, President Obama finally played his black card. He played his brother card. He's a proud brother now. I mean, that's not the point of being a president. There's supposed to be a certain level of impartiality. That's my whole point.
Well, sir, again, the whole thing is a divide and conquer situation. I appreciate your call. Let's go ahead and talk to Jonathan in New York. You're on the air, but he's calling in on the same subject. Go ahead.
Thank you, Alex. I wanted to get clarity from you about the definition of liberty, because I'm looking it up on the Webster Dictionary. And to fight this info war, I'm finding that it's very difficult to transcend to people, especially I live in New York City. There are so many people who believe that, first of all, the definition of liberty broadly is the quality of or state of being free. They believe being free means to be on government aid,
Yeah, they mean being free is being disempowered jellyfish. I mean, if I take off a day to take my kids fishing or camping. I'm having fun with them, but I can't quit thinking about all the things that are going on and all the things I want to do. Stay there. I'm going to come back to you to finish up your point, Jonathan. I think this is important. Yeah, what is the definition of freedom? What is the definition of being free? What's the definition of liberty? We'll be right back, and then Margaret, Mario, Andrew, and others. Oh, this isn't very nice on the royal baby day. Of course, the British royalty promotes abortion, forced abortion all over the planet, and supports the China one-child policy. But those are rabble babies, not the big elite babies. I'm going to go back to Jonathan and others here in a moment. But first, I want to tell you about a few of the fabulous sponsors we have. efoodsdirect.com/Alex to find all of this month's food specials. Right now, for every $329 you spend on food with eFoods Direct, the best storable food on the planet, you'll get a free 24-day food supply, the Patriot Pack, plus get free shipping. I talk like Daffy Duck now. This is a huge savings. If you've ever thought about having your own food supply, now is the time. Stores up to 25 years. Be ready for all emergencies. Grab-and-go kits available, easy to fix and extremely portable. The best storable food out there. efoodsdirect.com/Alex or 800-409-5633. And lastly, shifting gears, infidelbodyarmor.com. It can take hundreds of even up to 308 and 30-06 rounds when the ceramic stuff breaks within 6 rounds. And you want Road Warrior type stuff that is incredibly affordable. This is it, infidelbodyarmor.com. They've got an incredible online catalog and backpacks and a bunch of other amazing products. See it all, infidelbodyarmor.com. And I've talked to a lot of weapons and security people. They say this is just amazing stuff and incredibly affordable compared to the other systems that are out there. So infidelbodyarmor.com. And you can also give them a call, 888-608-6605, 888-608-6605. 05 for infidelbodyarmor.com. Okay, let's go back to the caller here. I mean, all I can say about what's happening in Houston and other places where you've got people, white people and Hispanics yelling at black people, this is exactly what the New World Order wants. And it's just beautifully played against people. You want to know why we're losing our rights, why we're becoming poor? Because more and more we're a nation of morons. Not all of us, but there's a large group of morons out there who just want to fight with each other. And if they could just beat the white people, they would be successful. Or if they could just beat the black people, they'd be successful. Or if this was just Mexico, because Texas used to belong to Mexico, along with 5 other countries and groups, you know, the French and everybody else, why Mexico wouldn't be poor. No, if Mexico ever had independence and ever had real private property and wasn't run by strong men, they would be freer. We're becoming like Mexico. We're becoming more like North Korea, not like what made us great. Not that America's ever been perfect. I'm sorry, caller, finish your point. Jonathan, go ahead.
So, Alex, I just think that liberty is a double-edged sword. Just as everybody, you know, you have MSNBC talking their racial stuff, how do you defeat the New World Order, the globalist syndicate, with this idea of liberty, doing whatever and saying whatever you get to say, when you have a positive message, but then it could also be seen that they also have a positive message to the people and the masses, because the way I see it is liberty is a double-edged sword. If MSNBC is talking about their race war and you tell them, stop talking about that, they're going to throw back at you, well, Alex, we have a right to say whatever we want to say. And then you get to, and then you'll say the same thing once they, and you do when they're blocking whatever you're saying. So I don't understand how to defeat this global syndicate if liberty is a double-edged sword.
Well, it is. And people buy into the fraud, too, that liberty means the government takes care of them when really they're being turned into slaves. All right, folks, we're going to talk to Larry Elder, talk show host, writer, who I think has really eloquently been exposing the incredible division being pushed by the so-called liberals, all they can offer is racial infighting because that's all they've got. Well, they work for foreign banks looting us, basically. I'm also going to continue breaking down this disgusting media frenzy over the royal birth, and it could be a queen, it could be a king. This is the antithesis of what this country was founded on. This is kryptonite to Superman. If America's Superman, this royal fawning is kryptonite. Worshipping royalty is the opposite of what America was founded on. It is kryptonite to Superman. I'm trying to think of a good tweet. If America is Superman, worshipping royals is kryptonite. Does that make sense? It's everything our ancestors struggled against. But now government's the new royalty with diplomatic immunity above the law. We're going to get into all of that. And we'll have open phones in the third hour as well. And I'm very close to getting one of the main new Black Panther leaders on the show to, again, cover this big distraction, but wake people up. The only way, the last caller was saying, how do we get people out of this infighting and out of this divide and conquer? I think you hijack the meme, you culture jam it, and then you show people. You cover it because you've got to cover it and nobody's going to listen. And you take whatever the big enchilada is of the day, the big diversion, the royal family, the Trayvon Martin stuff, and then you point out how it's a distraction and then show people what they're not being shown. And I know that's elementary. You're like, tell us something we don't know. That's what I'm trying to get my crew to do, and they're doing a great job, by the way. Because hindsight's 20/20, backseat quarterbacking, money day quarterbacking. My crew does an amazing job. I don't put 1/10 of what I know into form, into action. That's what I'm trying to do here. And I'm really trying to unlock minds. I just want freedom. I have goodwill. And that is the antidote to the globalist poison. Margaret in Florida, thanks for holding. You're on the air worldwide.
Hi, Alex. You've told us on the air that you had a shack for your family to bug out to. And I have a cabin on 10 acres. And I was wondering your thoughts on when to bug out. What are we looking for?
Well, I mean, I have a couple places I can go, family property and stuff, that's got old farmhouses and stuff on it that I go to anyways to go wild hog hunting or fishing or camping or, you know, riding four-wheelers or letting the kids ride around on the tractor. But, I mean, that's if we ever go into a Great Depression and stuff really collapses bad, I've got storable food, farm tools, and gardens and a little grape vineyard and things that are already going that I could go to. I've got a couple different places with family that lives on family, family partnership property. So I have 1 foot in an agrarian past. Plus, I might have to, bug out if it ever gets to the point of they shut down my media operation and, basically they're arresting patriot leaders. I won't particularly run myself, but I'll put my family out in the country, and it's no secret where they'll be. It's just out of the way. I mean, here's an example. If we had a reactor blow up in California like they had in Japan, I would have to leave the U.S. for a couple of years because I don't want my kids getting radiated. So it's just always good to have that backup. Does that answer your question?
Yes, economic collapse,
I'll tell you what, Larry Elder's coming up. Stay there. I'm going to come back to you. This is an important topic. And you should get the film we produced, Strategic Relocation. That'll really answer all your questions. And the book at InfoWarsStore.com. Ladies and gentlemen, up on InfoWars.com, we have a lot of important news up there. Actor James Woods has dismantled Obama's racist opportunism. We've got some of his quotes from Twitter up there. I think that's really important. We've also got UK blocks porn in the name of stopping child porn. They're going to move to get rid of free speech, period. They're certainly not really trying to stop porn. We're going to be breaking that down. Also, most government pensions to be confiscated within a decade. Mike Adams has a report up there from Natural News on Infowars.com that deals with the Congressional Budget Office and others reporting on the trend we've seen in Europe coming here to the United States. Also, the mainstream media is finally beginning to report on Russian combat readiness after the alternative news broke the fact that Israel struck Russian military sites in Syria a few weeks ago. Major escalation on that front. You know, why have I been critical of this worship of British royalty? Well, A, they're not even British, but B, it's the antithesis of the American system that we worship people because of title or royalty. It's about what you stand for, who you are, what you build, what you write, what you produce, what inventions you make, where you trailblaze. And I'm all about being an individual. And I admire people that are honorable and well-spoken and intelligent and that are good fathers. And that's why we see an attack on the family and an attack on fathers. And we have the best-selling author of Dear Father, Dear Son. He's also written a bunch of other best-selling books. Larry Elder joining us to the bottom of the hour. Then we'll continue with your phone calls. And Ed Asner is going to be popping in to give us his take on everything, the former head of the Screen Actors Guild and, of course, famous actor in his own right. But that is coming up, then totally open phones and more news in the third hour. But I saw this clip last week, and I said, please get Larry Elder. He was on everybody's favorite Redcoat. He was on the Piers Morgan show. And really let him have it. It's an amazing 11-minute video that's up on Infowars.com. It's also on LarryElder.com. But let's go ahead and play about a minute of the opening exchange right here with Larry Elder.
I was, because you weren't doing her any favors by condescendingly trying to convince her that she's a victim. This is a young lady who didn't apply herself, a 19-year-old who's still in high school. Instead of saying, young lady, take this as an opportunity to take stock of your life, you treated her like she was a victim. And that's how you're doing this whole thing about race and racism. 7,000 murders last year, Pierce, of black people. Almost all of those were committed by black people. Since Trayvon Martin has his unfortunate death, there have been 480 blacks killed in Chicago alone. 75% of those crimes have been unsolved. Where are the cameras? Where are the shows? It's outrageous to act as if black America should fear some non-black guy stalking some black kid at night. The likelihood of a black person being killed by a non-black person is extremely remote, which is why this became a big national issue in the first place, Pierce.
Right. It's perfectly possible, as we have shown so many times.
And again, 94%, Justice Department numbers, black on black. And it's like they found an Easter bunny or a leprechaun or a pot of gold or the unicorn, you know, the mythical creature, the racist white person. And I know there's racist white people. I don't run into a lot of them. When you run into them, they're big losers, folks. Their whole identity is about race, and that's why they're usually failures. Winners want to be around winners. And that's why royalty disgusts me. Obama's the new royalty because of what color he is. He can do no wrong. It's the same thing with these British royals. What have they done? But lecture me about carbon all day. I don't like Obama, and I don't like the Queen of England either. Larry Elder, do you get where I'm coming from with that?
Of course I do. And Alex, I gave him facts. It is an unfortunate fact that blacks are 12% of the population. You throw out the women, you're talking about 6%. Throw out old people and young people, you're talking about 3%. Out of 3% come half of all homicides. This is why people profile. I'm not mad at people for profiling. I'm mad at the young thug who's messed up my image. And the reason the young thug is there is because the young thug grew up in a home without a father. 75% of black kids born in homes without a father. At some point, 85% of black kids will be in a home without a dad. Obama knows this. He gave a speech, Alex, at Morehouse, and he said a kid growing up without a dad is 5 times more likely to be poor, 9 times more likely to drop out of high school, 20 times more likely to end up in prison. So what are we talking about here? They take some aberrant case, and they act as if this is some referendum on America. It is as ridiculous as what happened in Sandy Hook, and Piers Morgan wanted to make some pink-cheeked white kid the face of gun violence in America.
Absolutely. It's the same deal. It's like guilting everyone. All gun owners, you killed the kids. They said that. And now all whites, you want to corner the little black kid and murder him.
Alex, it's misdirection because the real problem is what the left has done to the family. Between 1890 and 1940, look it up. In the census reports, a black kid was more likely to be born in a nuclear intact family than a white kid. Along comes Lyndon Johnson. He incentivizes all these inner city people into getting money, provided there's no man in the house, and allows the woman to marry the government and allows the man to abandon his financial and moral responsibility. And now, fast forward, we're talking about race and racism and high-capacity magazines. It's absurd.
Sure. Well, the Bible says, and it's got historical examples because the Israelites were very learned, so they wrote down on what happened. And the more stuff they dig up, the more they find out how accurate the Old Testament and New Testament is historically to things that really went on. They knew when a society's about to collapse, women are put in as the boss. And I'm not knocking women, it's just a fact. The government has done that. Fake feminism, all of this. The women are slaves to the government. What happened? What happened? Because I've seen the same numbers you're talking about, where illegitimacy in blacks was lower than it was in whites. Crime was lower than whites. How did this happen?
Well, two things happened. Again, women were incentivized into getting money from the government, provided there was no man. And the civil rights movement went from demanding equal rights to demanding equal results. That's where you get these race hustlers like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson demanding this and demanding that. Equal rights and equal results are two different things. Equal rights are one thing that everybody is entitled to. Equal results are things you have to work for and earn. And that's what happened.
Why do you think the media is desperately pushing this? And am I wrong in saying, you're a little bit older than I am, and you've been a syndicated radio host for several decades and follow the news continually. Am I right in saying this is pulling out all the stops that we've never seen race baiting at this level, A, and then B, why are they doing it?
Well, we've seen race baiting before, but what's bizarre about it is one would have thought that it would have been diminished by now. We've elected a black president. We re-elected a black president. Obama got more of the white vote than John Kerry did. So one would have thought that people would have perceive that to be a statement about how relatively race-free conscious this country is. Instead, this is another in a continuing series of race hustlers. Tawana Brawley was a race hustle. Jenna Six was a race hustle. The Duke lacrosse thing was a race hustle. When years ago USA Today ran all those cover stories about black churches being burned, we found out when all the dust settled, pardon the expression, that more churches, mosques, and synagogues were burned than black churches, and USA Today had to apologize. This is another in the continuing series. The mantra, white people are after black people are under siege, when in fact, if you ask black people what's really going on, far and away they're concerned about what I said before about crime, violence, bad schools. The fact is that 1 out of 2 black adults does not have a full-time job. These are the things that are concerning us, and this is misdirection to take our attention off of all these things and look on nonsense because the left can't come to terms with the damage that they have done.
How do you reverse it? Because I genuinely want to empower everybody. I don't want to pay for all these private prisons. I don't want to see the culture degenerating across the board. I mean, for those of us that want goodwill in the face of conscious race baiters like Piers Morgan and Michelle Maddow and all those guys, I mean, they know what they're doing, divide and conquer. How do we respond to people this vicious?
Well, Alex, we do what we're doing. We do what you're doing. You're fighting back. The fact is that I call it the access of indoctrination. Hollywood, academia, and the media. And every day you get up in the morning, you are infused with all of this stuff. You cut on your local news, and you hear about how oppressed black people are. You go to the theater, and you watch a movie called Hurricane, a movie about a lie based upon somebody who murdered 3 people, and suddenly Denzel Washington is a hero, even though he murdered 3 people in the real life. This is the kind of crap that kids are subjected to every single day. The media, overwhelmingly left-wing, academia, overwhelmingly left-wing, Hollywood, 80 to 90% of the money that they give to political contributions goes to the Democratic Party. So this is what we're up against. You are fighting it. I'm fighting it. People have to wake up. They've got to realize that right now, at all 3 levels of government, federal, state, and local, they're taking away half of the American people's money. In 1900, federal, state, and local, they took about 7%. This is outrageous. The Founding Fathers would be spinning in their graves. We need to reverse this.
Absolutely. Looking at this, what do you really in your gut expect to happen now? Because it really seems the media is trying to stir up a race war, and I don't see it working too well, but they don't care. They just keep doing it.
I think it's backfiring. I think this might do it. Al Sharpton, people are taking a look at him. This is a guy who every night rails and rails and rails about why rich people ought to be paying more taxes, owes millions of dollars in back taxes, federal, state, and payroll taxes. This is a guy who got involved in the Crown Heights thing. Some people in New York call it the most serious pogrom in the history of America. He was right in the thick of that, and of course his whole career was based upon Tawana Brawley. I'm thinking and I'm hoping that maybe NBC might begin to take a look at him. There's got to be a lot of negative letters. I saw a poll that shows George Zimmerman has higher ratings than Al Sharpton.
I mean, I think that's it. More than race baiting, it's about these people becoming celebrities. And they're celebrities pimping the race, and it's a disgusting spectacle.
Well, it really certainly is, and I called Sharpton Reverend J. Edgar Sharpton because along with J. Edgar Hoover, you look at the guy still in power all these years, and you wonder why. And it's through manipulation and intimidation, and that's what Sharpton does. He'll go to a corporation, yell and scream. He'll bring a whole bunch of black people there to picket if you don't give me this deal. Next thing you know, the money's passed hands. There's a book called Shakedown, written by a journalist named Ken Timmerman, who talks about how Jesse Jackson does this. I interviewed Timmerman on my show. He couldn't get arrested on any of the other major shows because they're all in bed.
Absolutely. And a lot of the Republicans, I'll be honest, like to play along with this and not really go after it because that then scares their constituents and you know, makes it racially based on top of it. I say we just circumvent the whole thing and expose it, as you're doing, as the political football that it's basically become. I want to go to break and come back with one more segment with syndicated radio host and best-selling author who's with us today here, Larry Elder. Then we're going to get Ed Asner's take on this, the wars and everything else, and then open phones in the third hour. I'm Alex Jones. You can follow us at Real Alex Jones on Twitter. You can follow Larry at Larry Elder on Twitter. All right, folks, it's the final segment with Larry Elder, who really is just a individualist who wants freedom. And it's so clear what's happening here. The government wants dependency. It wants a group under its control. That's why NBC edited the Zimmerman tape, 911 call. That's why they used photos from 5-6 years before of Trayvon Martin. That's why the prosecution suppressed images of a gun and loot on Trayvon Martin's cell phone. This is amazing. And the police chief said they wanted him indicted, even though that wasn't the facts. And it is politically scary. What do you expect the Justice Department to do now, the same folks that run Fast and Furious, Larry Elder?
They're going to do nothing. They're going to huff and puff, and Obama's going to give you the impression that they're going to be looking at it. And, of course, Sharpton wants to keep up the heat. But the bottom line is the law does not support bringing charges at all, nor do the politics support it. The polls show that a plurality of Americans are perfectly okay with this not guilty verdict. By a 2-to-1 margin, they believe that he's not guilty of manslaughter, and by a 3-to-1 margin, they believe he's not guilty of murder. And so if you really want to rile people up, go ahead and bring charges again. And maybe some non-whites might get a little ticked off about what's going on. So I don't expect anything to happen. And Alex, may I just say one other thing, too? Obama gave a bunch of anecdotes about how black people are being oppressed in this country. If you walk by a car, you hear a car door lock, a woman clutches her purse, you're followed in the department store. All of those things, of course, have happened to everybody black that I know of, including me. Obama, however, doesn't give other anecdotes. I'll give you one. I'm in Cleveland dating a black girl living in the inner city. I'm at a park in Cleveland, 2 o'clock at night. We're having a wonderful time. In the distance, she spots a group of young black men. They're coming towards us, walking not very fast, and Sharon says, "Let's go." I said, "What's the problem?" "They don't have any women with them. Bad sign. Let's go." And we got up and we left. Now, this is an inner-city black woman. This is what she said. She did. Now, where's Obama? Was she a racist?
Well, I couldn't say it as good as you just said it. Where do you expect this thing to go with the cause celeb, which really isn't? Why is the establishment so anti-white? Because that's, quote, the majority, and it's a way to beat the majority into going along politically with what the power structure wants?
I think there's a lot of white guilt. There's a lot of people that feel noble if they stand up like Piers Morgan and puts his hand around some woman and condescendingly tells her how smart she is. It's that soft bigotry of low expectations.
So they build straw men. I've actually found a lot of liberals quietly are actually the real racist, and I think that's what it is. I think they're racist.
Well, here's what it is. When you talk to a guy like Piers Morgan and he looks at somebody like Rachel Jeantel and says how smart she is, this is the kind of condescending attitude that is the basis of race-based preferences. The reason that you are allowing blacks and browns to get into schools, not Asians, by the way, even though they're ethnic minorities, is because people really do feel that we black people and brown people are too stupid to be able to get really good SATs and the same kind of test scores as everybody else. So therefore, they lower the bar for us. It's a condescending, if not racist, kind of attitude, and that's what George W. Bush meant when he talked about the soft bigotry of low expectations. What's going to happen in the future? I would recommend that George Zimmerman change his last name to Benghazi, and then the media won't give a damn anymore.
That's a good idea, George Benghazi.
Yeah, that's it. Who? What do we care? I don't care.
Man, you're a genius, I tell you.
Thank you.
No, you just are funny, man. So where do you expect this to go? We got the 2 guys shot in a parking lot for a free Zimmerman thing. And I'm seeing all these racial attacks across the country. So many, I can't even cover them now.
Yeah.
And the media is totally covering this up because it doesn't fit the narrative.
And you see 3 female bodies were found in a vacant house in Cleveland. You know, I also say this, too, Alex. If we had a few more George Zimmermans, maybe we'd have a few fewer Ariel Castros. I thought we wanted people to be proactive. Hillary writes a book that says it takes a village. Janet Napolitano tells us, see something, say something, and then you do so, and your knuckle-dragging race has gone out of profiling. So I can't figure out what they want.
Well, when it's all said and done, it looks like a lot of white people are going to get killed over this. And where is the media on that? I mean, I agree with you. I think they've gone a bridge too far. I think that even if they're successful stirring up a race war, that this is the beginning of the end. And I think it's the last gasp of the big race pimping. I think it's still going to go on, though.
I think so, too. And I think people are pointing out the hypocrisy. A few years ago, there was the most brutal double homicide that I've ever seen in Knoxville, Tennessee. 4 black people, mid-20s, raped, tortured, and murdered 2 young white students in the most graphic, heinous way I've ever heard. Very little coverage. And these are the kinds of things people are beginning to point out and point out the hypocrisy.
Well, I mean, a black lady grabbed a 10-year-old kid and burned him to death with a torch for no reason in Houston. No media coverage. And again, I'm not even hyping this up because I don't want to create a bunch of division. But when it's such hypocrisy, I mean, you've got to cover it.
In Arizona, black guy in his SUV with his fiancée. Latino on foot crosses in front of him. Black guy accuses a Latino of cutting him off. They get into a dispute. A black guy pops him one time in the chest. Black guy's not arrested right away. Latino's family has to agitate to get arrested. Nobody cared. Ultimately, the guy got arrested, but nobody cared because the race of the shooter was the wrong race.
It's amazing. It doesn't fit the script,
right.
The narrative. Larry Elder, thank you so much for spending time with us. We'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure.
All right, there goes Larry Elder, folks. We'll be right back. Folks, bottom line, we have illegal NSA spying going on. We have $85 billion a month given to offshore banks and banker bailouts. We have Obama and NATO launching military attacks all over the Middle East and Africa, allied with Al-Qaeda. Talk about vindicating 9/11 truth. You've got just unmitigated corruption. You've got Obamacare written to raise payroll taxes on poor people, written by insurance companies. People are now discovering the horror of that. And meanwhile, George Zimmerman has emerged from hiding for truck crash rescue. That is the type of news we've got breaking right now. George Zimmerman, who has been in hiding since he was acquitted of murder and the death of Trayvon Martin, emerged to help rescue someone who was trapped in an overturned truck, police said today. I actually helped somebody Saturday. This guy runs a red light and just T-bones this lady, and we helped her and stuff, and no big deal. You're supposed to do that. The crash occurred at the intersection of I-4 and Route 417. Why is this news? Why is one guy and one trial and everything going on and people fighting with each other and racial attacks all over the country? This is such a distraction. And the reason I'm covering it is to point out it's a distraction from all the real issues that are going on around the world. And we do have our satire video up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, exclusive footage of birth of royal baby. And it's pretty hilarious, ladies and gentlemen. There's also an exclusive photo on my Twitter at RealAlexJones, the first leaked photo of the new baby or the birth of the baby as well, ladies and gentlemen. That is up on the Twitter at RealAlexJones. Look, I don't like royalty. Everybody knows this. Just like I don't like identifying by race or identifying. No, it's what you stand for and what you've done. Not that you're in a hereditary dictatorship like North Korea. So we're going to be getting into all of that as well. In the next hour, for everybody that's holding, Mario and Brad and Andrew and Paul and Kevin, we're going to get to all of you. Nothing but calls in the third hour, I promise. I'm going to go right to them. But for the balance of this hour, we are going to be joined by Ed Asner to talk about a host of issues here in just a moment. But first, I want to tell listeners about, there's a lot of talk out there. But if you want to know the very best stainless steel, gravity-fed systems, tested, certified, side-by-side comparisons with the leading competition, go to InfoWarsStore.com. Filtering your water is the beginning of health for your organs, your body, your blood. the tap water, the well water, so much of it is just full of additives and toxic chemicals and fluoride. The list goes on and on. The biggest thing you can do for yourself and your family deserves it, is get a Pro Pure system that blows the competition away at the lowest price at InfoWarsStore.com. Promo code WATER, you get 10% off. Just put WATER in the shopping cart, code area, and you get 10% off the already lowest price. InfoWarsStore.com, or you can call toll free and give the promo code WATER and ask about other specials as well. 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139, or InfoWarsStore.com. And it's a win-win-win. We promote the very best products from across the board that help people that also have the lowest price. So that's how we fund our operations, is with goodwill type products that we use, that we believe in, that we promote. So again, InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. And finally, the new Beyond Tangy Tangerine, totally GMO-free, certified organic, GMO-free, third-party and USDA. It is now available at InfoWarsHealth.com, discounted, and you can get free shipping at InfoWarsHealth.com. And there's also a toll-free number there on the side if you want to call and have any questions to ask, or if you want to sign up to be a distributor and get big discounts. The toll-free number is 888. Again, we'll put that back up on screen, and I'll give that out for people. 888-636-9277. 888-636-9277. Thank you so much, guys, for putting that up on screen. I always get emails and see comments. What do you mean? You're always talking about put it on screen. We're not just on the radio right now. We are simulcasting free video feed while we can afford it. It's usually just for members at prisonplanet.tv. You have the nightly news for members. But the daytime radio show, 3 hours of it, the free iPhone app, Droid apps, podcast, video feed, Infowars.com/show. And please get that URL and send it out to friends and family. That's the biggest way to wake people up. You know, when folks ask my political affiliation, I am a constitutionalist who believes in basic human liberty and freedom. I'm an individualist. But I also believe in the greater good and helping your community. The problem is anytime you try to do that and pool too big of resources, special interest will come in and take it over. And you can say what you want about the media misrepresenting over the years what Ed Asner stands for, but I've gotten to know Ed Asner over the years. We just sent one of our crew out there to a charity event Ed put on to help autistic children. Autism Speaks. And Ed Asner is somebody across the board, you know, who isn't just the box people put them in. I mean, if you hear about somebody like Martin Sheen, who I know pretty well, you'll hear, oh, that guy's a total liberal communist. And then you actually meet him, and he's actually pro-organic, anti-vaccine, pro-liberty on a bunch of fronts, and believes that some of the stuff that's pushed by the controlled left, you know, is the answer. But the point is, they're not opportunists. These are real people that really care, and they will criticize Obama for bombing Libya and Syria and backing al-Qaeda when the fake right wing won't do it and is backing Obama. And so that's why I wish I could have gone out there, but I already had a preset engagement from a month before. But Ed invited me out. I sent Rob Jacobson out to the celebrity poker event. All the proceeds went to autism research and helping folks. And, of course, he's been one of the main hosts of the Mary Tyler Moore Show as Lou Grant, hundreds of different movies and TV shows like Up, that he did the voice of, one of my favorite good, wholesome movies. He was president of the Screen Actors Guild, and he was born in 1929. So he has been out there doing a lot of stuff for a long time. Autism Speaks, just search that, and you will pull up the official site. We'll put that up on screen for everybody. But Ed spends a lot of his time. In fact, I know folks that know him most of his time, 100% giving to charity. So truly an amazing guy. I'm not trying to kiss his hind end here. It's just that he's a real humanitarian. Ed, thanks for spending 20, 30 minutes with us today.
Oh, keep kissing. Come on. Come on. Come on. It feels so good.
I know, but you are a good guy.
Yeah. You are a good guy, too. So are we all good guys.
Well, at least we try to be. I mean, that's the difference. we can disagree on some things, but we are trying to find the truth. I think we're trying to have justice. And I think as long as that's what you're shooting for, that's the key. They don't want us to come together on what we agree about. They want us divided and conquered. And I got to ask you, what is your take on the George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin tragedy? What is your view on that? Then I want to segue into autism, the wars, the NSA, all of it with Ed Asner.
I did not make a deep and intensive study of that whole affair, but my only feeling is that it's a demonstration of how stupid and backward and weak Florida's laws are, that, yeah, fine, you didn't convict him of manslaughter, but by God, the man did break laws by his trailing around, taking the law into his own hands with a loaded weapon in his possession. I think it exposes Florida for its backwardness.
Well, I agree that there's two sides to this, and I probably wouldn't have been following somebody around in the rain with a gun, and so I think that there is kind of a cop wannabe angle there. Some people have said, "Oh no, he did nothing wrong." I don't agree, but I agree with Jimmy Carter saying the jury did the right thing because they shot for the premeditated murder instead of a lower charge. Why do you think they went for something they knew they couldn't get? Most legal analysts say.
Well, I suppose to be loyal Floridians. I didn't know that they went for the whole ball of wax. If that's what they went for, then that's wrong. They were very wrong to have done so.
Yeah, I mean, most people think they did it on purpose so that he would get off.
Yeah.
And then it could be used as a political football. Shifting gears out of that, autism. We've gone from, 1 in 25,000 30 years ago to 1 in 68, 1 in 52, depending on the numbers. Some say it's overdiagnosed. I don't think that's the case. I see massive neurological issues in children everywhere now who haven't even been diagnosed with it, the quirkiness, the things. And it's, I have friends and family that have autistic children. I know this has touched you as well, Ed. What do you think's going on with autism, bottom line? And tell us about Autism Speaks.
Listen, if you've got frogs coming up with all kinds of different sexual aspects, why can't our kids be affected in a different way?
Exactly.
I think it's the environment. And I think it's the poisons that we spew in our water, in our air, and I don't even want to think about the poisons that were released with the Gulf oil spill. What's in that water now? If we're looking at the eradication throughout the world of coral atolls, there's poison everywhere, and the policing of those poisons is not occurring with the rapidity with which they infect our lives.
Well, that's what all the scientists basically say, is that it's a cocktail of things, and that's how mercury and things in shots can push it over the edge. But they've got studies out now on the GMO corn that has its own pesticide in it, causing autism. I mean, look at Fukushima blowing up and the cover-up of that. What does the establishment think they're going to do when they are butchering the environment like this?
Well, and the drugs that are constantly pushed into the food we eat, the chicken and the beef, and the excess, whatever excess is shot into the waters we drink, and we're indulging and imbibing in all of those pharmaceuticals that are given to our animals, and the excess of those pharmaceuticals. So nobody's watching the store.
Ed, I think that's the heart of it. We are a poisoned, we are a absolutely drunk out of our mind on poison.
Yeah.
I think that's why society's getting so crazy.
Well, and our children are affected. Oh, one in 68, one in 88, primarily boys, but frogs are similarly affected. The sexual typing of fraud. It's back to disappearing, as we have heard. What's causing it all? Why? And does anybody care? I don't think so. Now, maybe autism has been in this intensity all our lives, and we merely shrugged it off and saying he's weird, he's a dummy, he's addled, he's a no-show.
Well, if you look at pesticides, the really bad ones that are out there that they allow to be used, in the rat studies, the rats act just like we're acting. They have the very same disorders, the very same problems. And what's crazy is the FDA and the EPA are more and more allowing more and more of this in the environment. It's crazy.
Yeah. We have a lot to suffer, and we're suffering it to our grandkids right now. I have an autistic son. Fortunately, he's high functioning, and maybe he can survive in this world on his own. I don't know. We don't know. I have a grandson who is less high functioning, and he will need assistance all the rest of his life.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. So it is a scourge upon the land, and in your own family has struck multiple people. Unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah. I have other grandkids who are ADRs, which is new on the scene, and hopefully it will be handled appropriately and effectively, and they will be able to function in real life. I just had a friend who died of a heart attack at 57.
Wow.
He has 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl.
Yeah, I saw a study, British Medical Journal studied about a month ago. We can pull it up and put it on screen for TV viewers, where the headline was, 30 is the new 50, and they went and looked at the DNA. We are accelerating our aging now. I mean, this is a huge crisis.
Oh, really? I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, well, they spin it and say, 70's the new 50, like, oh, you're going to live and be young and all this. But when it really comes down to it, young people have been devastated by the environment. I mean, just devastated.
Well, it's not just devastated by the environment. Look at the food we're eating. Look at the salt that we're sucking up. Look at the fats and the additives in all of the ready-to-wear foods that we eat. It is far from the simple fare. You know, there was that wonderful study done on the Amish a few years ago, and they found that the Amish in Ohio and Pennsylvania ate 3 huge meals a day. None of them had heart attacks or strokes or anything, because quite often each individual would walk 25 miles taking care of his land because he wasn't automated.
Absolutely, and there were no additives, and they have no autism. No autism, folks, because they're living an organic lifestyle right there. They say the meek will inherit the earth. Certainly the case with the Amish. We'll be right back with Ed Asner. Ed Asner is our guest. We're going to start the next hour and go to your phone calls. Ed, what do you make of Jimmy Carter? Because you brought this up to me. I want to get your take on it. Saying America has no functioning democracy on the NSA. Isn't the social contract broken? And now the government's getting more and more brazen. The NSA last week told Congress and the courts, you're not allowed to oversee us. This is the tail wagging the dog. It's like Nixon saying it's not illegal when the president does it. What's your take on that?
I think it's the further proof of the march step of the United States into a somewhat of a corporate fascism.
It certainly is. And I love how the corporate profits are guaranteed with taxpayer money, but the losses are then also put on the people.
Yeah. It's a win-win, huh? God almighty. Let's make ourselves corporations and we can flaunt and flop around the world like a character out of Lost in Space.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Yeah, yes. That's for sure.
Ed, front and center for you, what is, right now, what are you most focused on politically? What concerns you the most?
Well, to tell you the truth, when I see the march toward fascism, corporate fascism in this country, it's occurring in so many areas. I don't even begin to want to attack it because it's impossible. It's like a 1,000-legged spider. So out of fatigue and out of failure to know where to be effective, I don't do anything. I still preach the language of 9/11 and the scandal and the fact that that open sore will allow the corporate fascism to proceed in this country until the American people slap themselves awake and acknowledge that this was a great, huge governmental crime, that sections of government perpetrated this crime, helped perpetrate this crime, and 3,000 of our citizens died. And nobody is willing to face the truth on that.
Oh, yeah. Take the brother who didn't have a throat wound. They were clearly set up in the Boston bombing. They're killing witnesses. The brother worked for the CIA. I mean, it's incredible. And people are on YouTube going, you're a traitor, terrorist lover. And I'm like, he's pled not guilty. The media is saying he's guilty. The evidence is they were patsies like Lee Harvey Oswald. I'm not saying I'm glad he bombed people. I'm saying the evidence shows he's a patsy. They just can't get that in their heads, Ed.
No, they can't. And they will accept whatever their government tells them. And as long as you're willing to accept anything and everything that the government tells you, you're going to be a patsy.
What do you make of the open funding of al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria now to engage in just mass homicide, and our media admits it and basically says it's a good thing?
Well, I've been leery of that revolution from the beginning, and I think it's a way to foment that area, and the potential of it is phenomenal because you've got the seedbed for a future World War III there. You've got us siding with the rebels, you know, from a slight distance, let's say, but arming them at the same time.
Absolutely. Ed, do 5 more minutes with us. 1 minute break. Come back. Closing comments from Ed Asner, and then your phone call. Stay with us. You know, I find North Korean hereditary dictatorships to be disgusting, and I find the British royalty to be disgusting. There may even be some nice members of it. I'm not saying they're all bad people, but the institution of monarchy, whether it's Saudi Arabia or whether it is in the UK, and the fawning, and the way they use it as a diversion from all the big things that are happening. Ed Asner, former head of the Screen Actors Guild, just in I don't know how many hundreds of movies. Ed, how many movies have you been in?
Oh, hell, I never counted, man. I'm afraid I come up. I haven't been in as many movies as you'd think. Let's put it that way.
What about IMDb? It seems like you've been in a bunch, and you've done voiceovers for a ton of films as well.
Oh, yeah. A lot of voiceovers. But I'm all over the place. Let's put it that way.
What was your favorite film role?
Well, I loved Daniel. I loved JFK.
Yeah, that was good. Really good.
And I loved Elf.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, the thing that brought me scads of attention and praise was Up.
Man, I tell you, that is probably my favorite children's movie because there's so few that are truly wholesome. And now it seems like Up almost led the way. I'm seeing more and more wholesome movies for children. Is there a revolution in Hollywood or something happening?
I would hope so. I'm leaving on Friday to do a live-action movie in Buenos Aires.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's on called The Games Maker.
What do you play, like the boss or something?
What's that?
What do you play in it?
The man who originally, helped create games for children. It's a fantasy, so to speak.
Oh, I got it. So it's sounded like an action adventure, but it's a children's movie. Well, I'll tell you, that's amazing. Ed, in the last 2 minutes we've got, do you have hope for humanity? I mean, what does your gut tell you is going to happen? I know this. We're in for an incredible ride.
I don't have much hope. I'm a cynic, and I realize that saves you a lot of effort, a lot of labor when you're a cynic. You can just sit back and say, oh, it's going to suck.
But see, you say you're not involved. You're doing charity stuff for autistic children and research. You're standing up against these illegal wars. You're speaking out against corruption. You're making movies. You're on my show. I mean, you're involved a lot more than 95% of people.
I do it to be a bigger person. And I do it because nobody else will do it. If everybody was doing it, then I wouldn't be interested.
Well, I tell you, I think apathy and the disease of arrogance, it's one thing if you're apathetic, but if you've seen these arrogant people that don't care about anybody and they think they're getting away with it, not caring about their community, what fools they are.
Oh, God, they are. And their heads will be the first to fall from the tumbril.
Well, folks can just search Autism Speaks and find the main site. We're going to put it up on screen for everybody, and it was great having Rob Jacobson out there to play poker with you guys. He got some interesting interviews.
And your very generous contribution.
Well, thank you so much, Ed. I think what you're doing is a very good charity, and I do give to good charities. I don't ever really talk about it, and I know you do as well. So
he does it better than you.
Well, you're just awesome, sir, and we appreciate you. And keep on keeping on, and if you ever want a platform, I know you've got your own platforms to speak to a couple million people, InfoWars is right here for you, Ed Asner. A big fan of your work. Thank you so much, sir.
God bless.
All right, I'll say bye to you during the break. We're going to come back with your phone calls, breaking news, and more. I'm Alex Jones, and this is the front lines of the InfoWar. All right, here's the deal. I'm going to go directly to your phone calls and try to go to them as quickly as I can. And then we're going to get to a host of breaking news stories that are up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. And I've got more to say about the disgusting hysteria about the royal baby and what a new distraction that is. So they moved from the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman diversion of racial division to now royalty worship. And I've got to get to this pension fund news, and also the CIA admits weather modification. Do I get my apology from Rachel Maddow saying I was insane? No, I don't think. I'm not going to hold my breath for that. Her apology is her viewership plunging. Let's go to Mario in South Carolina. Thanks for holding. You're on the air.
Hey, how's it going, Alex?
Pretty good, brother.
Yeah, I just called about the whole thing with Detroit. I was thinking that maybe that Detroit will be the Cyprus of America. And the whole thing with Lindsey Williams, with him saying they will loot the pension funds, I think he made a correct prediction, because isn't that what they're going to do in Detroit?
Absolutely. In fact, I haven't even gotten into Detroit today, despite the fact we have a bunch of news on that. And Mike Adams has a story dealing with government announcements that they're going to get the government pension funds first. And, you know, they tell government bureaucrats, hey, you've got to go out and write more tickets, raise more taxes, take more houses. When you get taxes on the general public, working class, lower middle class, above 40% historically, it implodes economies. And that's just a basic number. And now middle class is paying about 65% taxes in this country. In France, the average person pays 82, and some people pay over 100%. But the socialists are all exempt, it came out. So the power to tax is the power to destroy, as George Washington said. And yes, they are now moving in Detroit, as you just said, to take all the government pension funds. But, of course, the former mayors and people and city managers, they're going to be exempt. Yeah, there's the headline, French tax soars over 100%. Unbelievable. So absolutely. And, again, that's why they need a police state. They know you're going to wake up, try to take the government back, and send them all to prison. And, again, Bernie Madoff should not be in jail. Whenever he says in the news, jailhouse interviews, that all I did is what everybody else does, it's true. Now, I'm not saying Madoff isn't a crook. I'm saying send about 1,000 crooks worse than him to jail first, and then get around to sending him to jail. I mean, Ken Lay was a big crook, but nothing compared to Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo, all these guys. All these groups. Warren Buffett's a complete criminal. And I'm not just saying that. It's come out in the news. He's done illegal stuff with money, but doesn't get in trouble because they're made men. They're above the law. If they make a 40-to-1 bet like John Corzine, steal people's private money, 2 years later, oh, we're not going to prosecute him. Well, that wasn't a hard prediction to make. So when you get to the point of they can never go to jail, what does that do? It emboldens them to get away with more and more. And then that haughty attitude is transferred throughout the government until people marvel. They say, why are you on the air? Why are you still alive? Well, God's involved. My grandma's praying for me. Secularly, they don't want to underline, highlight everything I've said, make me a martyr. But I know deep down one of the biggest reasons is I've been told by some minions of the globalists they find this entertaining. They actually think I'm demoralizing people. They think you're so cowardly, that you're so weak, that you hear the truth here. And boy, believe me, this is the truth. As close as you're going to get to it. I'm trying as hard as I can to really give you a researched, informed answer with complexities, the whole 9 yards. And they're like, good, you know, I'm basically like America's head on a battle standard to intimidate people. They think you're cowards. They think you're broke. They think you're weak. I mean, I don't think you're like that. I think they've miscalculated. But here I am arguing for them to come after me. But, you know, their angle is, so what? What you going to do about it? What you going to do? But the truth is they want us shut down. So there's a lot of things going on here, but I think it's part of their haughty arrogance. The smarter ones want to destroy me, and they have destroyed my name to a certain extent with some people that don't pay attention. But those folks didn't count anyways. They're a bunch of spectators. So I hope that answers your question. I'm kind of ranting.
Yeah, I understand you. But my whole deal is I try to wake up all the zombies, but now it's just getting more tiresome and tiresome to the point where you just want to sit back and just watch them basically perish away. I mean, they keep eating the GMO, taking the fluoride and the vaccines. Pretty soon, next couple of generations, they won't be able to have kids, and I don't have to deal with them no more, you know?
No, I hear you. God bless you. Great points. Listen, here's the deal. We've already gone from 1 in 25,000 with autism in 1980, 30-plus years ago, to 1 in 50-something is the new number. And, folks, cancer rates are up 3,000% on average. If you index them all together, pediatrics are up over 10,000%. Pediatric cancers didn't exist in the 50s, folks. I mean, we are under a curse. You can call it spiritual or whatever you want, but it's a curse. And the globalists call themselves magicians. And what is a master magician? They are a wizard. They are a master magician. And that doesn't mean they're actually pulling a real rabbit out of the hat. But if you believe a rabbit was pulled out of the hat that wasn't there before, when it was really in a hidden compartment or hidden behind a mirror, then it was pulled out. See, perception is reality for an unconscious slave. And so if they feel like they're winning because Obama is in office, they say, well, who are you going to vote for? Mitt Romney? And it's like, no. The trick is the system funded both men and knew who they wanted because he was a more effective evil, not a lesser evil. Mitt Romney couldn't get away with anything that's going on right now, not with his constituents or anybody. So see, they look at things, the dumbed-down mass, as A or B. Coke, Pepsi, Ford, Chevy. The Broncos versus the Titans. The Cowboys versus the Ravens. The Patriots versus the Redskins. Blah, blah, blah. The Dolphins versus the Chargers. The Seahawks versus the... It goes on and on. And so people are in a trance. They just are thinking about their job. They're burnout. They're poisoned from GMO, poisoned from fluoride. They have lower IQs. I mean, Harvard study, folks, on average, it was 20-something% for boys and 17% for girls. So I just averaged it together. But there's 24 studies they look at in that major Harvard study, and one of them is on IQ. There's a bunch on IQ, but I'm just saying Harvard because people go, Harvard? And you can look up Harvard study fluoride and read what I just said. It's a couple hundred pages long. Go read it. I actually read the whole thing. If I'm reading a novel I like, I read it slowly, but I speed read. So just kind of getting the gestalt of the info. And I take it personal. I mean, if people were throwing things through the windows of the Austin City Council, I'm not calling for that. But if they were doing that, I'd say, well, they are putting fluoride in our water. If there were people running around going, I'm a victim, take the fluoride out, I'd say, man, yeah, I agree with this. But see, no, we're not doing that. They've had marches in Austin about Trayvon Martin. When that guy had dead brain cells throughout his mind, throughout his brain tissue, and so does Zimmerman. We're all in this together. We're all being attacked. We're all being engineered, and I think it's disgusting. And that's why these people are like this. These are victims. We are all victims of this, of the madness. And I figured it out. The globalists have 90+% of the reactors are leaking. Look that up. Out of 420-something reactors, 92 or 91% are leaking. You can look up that number. They're not getting away from all this. These people are just nuts. Like they think they've got a plan, and there is a plan, but it's only a plan to control us and give us the short end of the stick. But, man, it's like we're holding the hand grenade. They pulled the pin. They're sitting 2 feet away. They're going to get blown up by it, too. They're not getting away with this. Let's go to Brad in Colorado. Brad, thanks for holding her on the air.
How you doing today, Alex?
I'm doing all right, brother. Thanks for putting up with me. Yeah, your phone's breaking up. Go ahead.
I'm sorry about that. I wanted to call in today. I'm in the middle of a hit.
Yeah, I'm going to have to let you go, bro. Sometimes people call in and they've got a good phone line and then it gets bad. Or maybe call him back, John, see if you can get on a better phone line. That sounded like a Vonage phone or something to me. Or a really bad cell phone. It's like my wife always calls me on her cell phone from inside the house. And I say to her, honey, why don't you use a hands-free? And she does more and more. Why don't you use a landline? We have a landline. And she calls me, and it's always, and she's like, what, you can't hear me? And I'm like, honey, she always gets irritated. God love her. She's a sweetheart. That I can't understand her. And I'm like, you got to go on the back porch. We live in the country. The tower's like 4 miles away, 5 miles away. Thank God I like being far away from the tower. Because the evidence is clear, being close to those cell towers is not good for you. And again, I'm not some goody two-shoe. I'm not some, oh, look, I'm saving you. I'm pointing all this out. I try to avoid GMO. I still eat it sometimes. I try to stay away from cell phone radiation. I try to not turn Wi-Fi on in my house. I'm trying, and I'm trying to warn you. And I'm trying as best I can to just get us to come back to sanity. You know, one reason the Romans were so aggressive and insane towards the end of their dynasty, their 400-year, 500-year, even longer than that if you count the decline, 600-year, technically, dynasty from what, couple hundred BC right through 410, they were drinking out of lead-lined containers, water and wine, which makes you completely insane and aggressive. And there's an example right there. We are poisoned. We are poisoned, and and we're not focused on real environmental issues. It's all carbon taxes to pay Al Gore money. The Motor City Madman. By the way, I'm going to play a clip of this over the weekend. Rand Paul said that we'll bail out Detroit over his dead body. And then he went on to say you can't bail out Detroit. Bailing out Detroit would have been not having the government take over General Motors and ship it to China. And I know that almost every show I mentioned that in the last 4 years since the so-called bailout of General Motors, because it blows my mind. And I also get emails and I see comments going, is that true? Yes, folks, you can search the term. I'm pulling up the exact headline in my mind. GM bailout shipped factories to China. And now, by the way, 4 years later, that factory just opened in China, the big one, for Cadillacs and a bunch of other GM cars. And, of course, that was $21 billion to ship it to China, Brazil, and a couple Eastern European countries. And I'm not against Brazil. I'm not against any of those countries. But it's being sent there to deindustrialize this country because they got people that'll work for pennies on the dollar. You know, they were going to ship Jeep to China, but the deal's been made, oh, we won't ship it to China since it's owned by Fiat now. We're going to ship it to Italy. Oh, that deal's been made. It's going to be going to Italy. Yeah, there it is. Outsourcer-in-chief, Obama of General Motors, Forbes magazine, shipping the GM plant to China. And then I got to hear his speech about, I want to get jobs going. I can't do a good Obama imitation. Like Bill Clinton, I want to get jobs for you. That's why I'm shipping it to China. Or Bush, yeah, we'll get. But I can't really do an Obama. We got to get America going again. That's what we got to do. I just can't do an Obama. I can do almost any voice, but I can't do Obama. We can play the real Obama. He's out on some tour right now. He's going to get America going. This guy shut down hundreds of power plants. They're going to shut down a couple thousand more. And I know I just keep repeating the same thing. I mean, I went and saw with my son and Shane Steiner last week. We went and saw the Brothers in Arms gun show. My old high school friend. We went and saw it. Our wives didn't want to go. And we go see Pacific Rim. That's like a 21st century version of Godzilla. And I thought it was very entertaining. But it's all a bunch of UN global government propaganda, kind of like World War Z. But as for entertainment, it was entertaining for a cheesy movie. But I was watching the kaiju, which means giant monster in Japanese, fighting the Jaegers, which means the hunters. And what they send these aliens in to do is to destroy the major industrial cities first. Roar, roar, boom, and just blowing up the power plants and smashing the bridges. That's what the globalists do when they go into a third world country and take over. They say, okay, you got to sell all this off, turn this off, shut down 5 water plants, only have 1 plant. We'll charge you 9, 10, 12, 15, 20 times what the water's worth. Then that causes rioting, which drives down wages even more. That's in the IMF World Bank plan that got leaked in 2002. It's called the IMF riot. Look it up. But if they can't do that, they militarily come in over some excuse, bomb the plants, bomb the energy plants. The globalists are like alien kaijus, just shutting everything down. And then Obama is kaijuing America. I mean, let me tell you, my grandfather went around bombing power plants in Italy, folks, out of North Africa. That's what they did, was bomb German bases and blow up the infrastructure of Italy before they went in. That's what you do in a war. You know, the kaijus come out of the ocean, to use a child's analogy, and tear up the cities ahead of the main invasion force, giving away the plot here. And that's what Obama's doing. But see, it's all for the earth. I mean, the Austin City Councils, yes, we've doubled power prices the last 5 years, and we're going to double it again. And we've shut down all 3 city-owned power plants. And there's one partially we owned, the Fayetteville plant. We're going to shut it down now. And we're going to buy our power from Mexico that comes out of big, dirty stacks because the globalists want us shut down, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, the city council is a kaiju attacking my city. Obama is a giant kaiju. Where are the Jaegers to deal with these people? Well, there aren't any hunters left in this country. All the men act tough all day, or professional guys only focus on their own business and their own money and think they're getting ahead doing that. No, you're going to destroy everybody if you don't stand up. A massive group of kaijus under Agenda 21 have just devastated the U.S. power plant system and are moving to shut down all the major industries except select insiders. The United States is plunging into dependency. Over 100 million Americans are now on food stamps and food assistance. Obama, the devastating kaiju, is unstoppable, destroying dozens and dozens of cities, turning America into one giant Detroit as he's hailed for the death panels. Only the mega kaiju, Obamasaur, can carry out this level of attack. I want my crew to get some old McBreen. That's how McBreen got the job here. Before we were even hiring more video editors and people, our best graphics guy, in my opinion. Everybody else is great, but McBreen's, I think, is the best. And he sent us a Godzilla New World Order deal where he took Godzilla videos and edited. We should show Obama to illustrate to people about, you've heard of Godzilla, the famous kaiju. You've heard of King Kong, his nemesis. You've heard of Mothra. You've heard of Gamera, or whatever they're called. You've heard of the kaijus of Pacific Rim. But now face the kaijus. And it'll show like race-baiting kaijus, destroy your culture and divide everyone. The leader of the kaijus is Mr. Maddow. And then you like cut. Oh, there you go. Somebody has turned Obama into. Obama can transform into Godzilla so he can destroy anything not built by a union. I'm sorry. God is in the name, which is proper. God is in the name. Oh, man. Oh, boy. I tell you, I can't handle it anymore. Let's go to phone calls, and I'll get to these clips I promised. Speaking of satire, it's up on Infowars.com. Exclusive footage of the birth of the royal baby. And at Real Alex Jones, I did it. It's in bad taste. I was on the hike and bike trail this morning, went for a short jog, and I came across it, and I had to take a photo of it and then say that it was a leaked photo of the birth of the new royal baby. Because they fawn over it and act like we're scum and they're God and we're mutts and they're pure breeds. So it all ties in nicely. And, hey, it's an official city sign, so it's not profane or anything. That's up on the Real Alex Jones. If you want to follow us there on Twitter. Now, shut up, Jones. It's like Dr. Strangelove, where he's like, control yourself. Let's go to Kevin in Texas. You're on the air. Welcome.
Hello, Alex.
Hey, what do you think of my analogy of Godzilla wading through Tokyo, Obama wading through our cities?
Godzilla will lose. But, Alex, first and foremost, I'm a first-time caller. I've been listening to you for many years. All this time I've been waiting on this line thinking of what I'm going to ask you.
While you smoke a giant joint?
No, but in reality, Alex, I was thinking of what I'm going to ask you, but anything and everything that I ask you is like preaching to the choir.
No, we have a lot of new listeners all over the place.
We're going to agree on just about everything me and you would
Okay, then what kind of kaiju would Obama be then?
But if I may, Alex, if you will
go ahead.
Give me permission.
Go ahead.
I want to speak to the people now. There's many of us listening, and yes, I listen to you just about every day, every night. I go to YouTube and I listen to what you're saying, and I agree with you. And the thing is, I want to talk to the people right now. We have to, everywhere, I'm a truck driver, everywhere we go, we have to wake people up. We have to turn them to this channel or people like you or Gerald Celente.
We have to get out of the trance and start moving, absolutely.
As Americans, not just Americans, as free-loving, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional right now, but we have to wake our brothers up. Alex is doing what he's doing. It is our job as listeners. There's millions of listeners out there. We have to do our job. Every state I go through, Alex, every warehouse I go to, every restaurant I go to, I try to turn people to you. I put
Incredible.
on YouTube and I put the volume up all the way so everybody can hear your voice, so everybody can hear what you're saying. It is our job, people. Get out when you're out there. You go to the market. You go to I don't care. You're at the gas station. Wake people up because we have to wake up. These criminal elements, these criminals have so much power that...
Absolutely. The globalists used America's might and energy and industry to make deals to build their global empire off of selling out America. That's been done. And so everybody needs to know, hey, you know the stuff's getting bad? The globalists did it. And they're bigger than Obama. They're bigger than the Republicans. What do they hate? Bill of Rights, Constitution, Declaration of Independence. It is like holy water to a vampire. Get back to what they attack. Whatever they attack is what they're scared of. And absolutely, I can't think of a better place to point people to find out about what's happening than to Infowars.com and the YouTube videos and the nightly news and what we're doing, breaking down the hypocrisy, making sense of things. Not, the media says Jones just makes up this cosmology to make sense of things. No, the globalists brag how they set this up. We're only pointing out what they've said they're doing. So I heartily agree with you. People need to see themselves as leaders and start their own YouTube channels, their own local radio shows, their own local newsletter, their own local film. I mean, I did it with no training. You guys can do it too. And you don't have to be as big as Alex Jones, but some of you will be bigger. God bless you, sir, and I appreciate your call, and keep up the great work. I salute you from Austin, Texas. Going back to this, we're going to announce probably tonight, if not tomorrow, there's just so many of them, the top 35 contestants in the Operation Paul Revere contest. We got over 600 videos, and it makes my head spin to have watched these, gone over these with the crew. I mean, it's amazing. It's bigger, better, more successful than I could have imagined. Intellectually, it's like piles of rubies and gold and silver. You go to Infowars.com /Paul for the Paul Revere contest, and you can find it all right there on the site right now, the top 300 or so of the 600. And no matter whether yours made it on there or not, you all did a great job. We'll have the top 35 tonight. Then we're going to have, in a few days, the top 15 or so down to 10. And then by the end of the month, time's almost up here. I feel like we're not doing justice to all these people. We are going to announce the 3 winners and the $100,000 prize. That's $100,000 just to see what would happen and what would be produced. Some of these have been seen 500,000 times. A lot of them 200,000 times. A lot of them 100,000, 50,000, 20,000. I tried to count it up the other day, and it was 4 or 5 million views. I mean, that's 4 or 5 million people that saw incredible art, every different angle of tyranny, and that's a pure thing we did. That $100,000 for first place, 10,000 for second, 5,000 for third. People say, oh, Alex is New World Order, or Alex is this or that. Obviously with no proof, just to create a diversion because they're jealous or they work for the globalist or whatever the case is. I don't care. The fact that I'm being attacked so much is a sign of success. But what a pure thing we've all been part of. And David Knight helping Honcho so much of it. It's been a big hassle for him and others just because it's so much. But also a labor of love because it's so much good, incredible art, animation, fiction, nonfiction, historical stuff, pro-gun, anti-tyranny. It's amazing. Infowars.com /Paul. And you can go up there to the site and go through the top 300 or so. And we'll try to cycle in some of the others as well. But we'll be announcing by the end of the month the winners. And what a pure thing. I mean, this inspired people to be part of this. And whether you win or not, you win by resisting. You win by being a filmmaker. And some of these people, it was their first film. And it's better than what I could do the first time or even the 10th time. Some of the stuff is TV, beyond HBO quality. I mean, I am blown away by the science fiction, I mean, you name it. It is amazing. And I've always been here to inspire others because others inspired me. And so there's humor, there's animation, there's stick figure animations, claymations, 600+ entries that we saw. And you've just done a great job. And that's another example of just pure resistance, pure research. And that's what the best things come out of. And now we'll hone this down, not just the 3 winners, but others, and talk to folks and say, would you like to be commissioned to make a film? Would you like to work with us? My only frustration is I can't hire 100 people. I might be able to work with 4 or 5 groups of people, maybe. I'm out of money. I'm spending everything I've got and then some reserve funds. That's why it's important to buy the Pro Pure water filters. That's why it's important to buy the new film, State of Mind, now shipping on Blu-ray and DVD. That's why it's important to get the T-shirts and to get InfoWars magazine. We're almost sold out of the July issue. It's got 10 bumper stickers in it, 6 medium, 4 big ones with stuff like America's been occupied by globalist forces. What a great way to wake people up. What a great way to resist. InfoWarsStore.com. That's what it all comes down to. When you buy your longevity products at InfoWarsHealth.com, you're getting the best products, the lowest prices, and supporting the broadcast. I mean, it's all about that. Well, let's go ahead and talk to SOD in New York. You're on the air.
Hello?
Sod, you're on the air. Or is it Zod?
Hey, Alex, thanks for taking my call, Alex.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, I just wanted to, first of all, congratulate you on hosting the contest. I think it was a very wonderful idea to get the word out there for people who don't really tune into your show, you know, and don't really follow the InfoWars crowd. We also participated in it.
Exactly. Those are messages in bottles. 600+ messages in a bottle. Go ahead.
Yeah, we also have an entry in the contest entitled Uncle Sam, The Search for Liberty. And I was just wondering if the finalists have been announced, because if you go to the website, and I see a list of them there. And I don't really see our movie. You know, I'm not calling to complain, but I don't know if it's an official finalist list or what.
You know, here's the deal. They walked into me. We're all overwhelmed. We're all doing too much here. They walked in 10 minutes before showtime and said, do you want us to go up with the top 35 finalists? And I said, man, I don't know. You guys are the ones on top of it. I need to come see, make sure it's the one. We'll have to do it after the show. So this isn't going to work perfect. The site's not going to be perfect. We're going in so many directions. It's insane. It's insane. So everybody wins by having it out there on YouTube and waking people up. And when we say the top 35 finalists, I'm sure there's going to be stuff that fell through our cracks. And so, I mean, here's the problem. We're getting hundreds of emails a day asking questions, so we can't even respond. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand.
I mean, I'm sitting in here with Adam Kokesh calling me right now from jail. I mean, what am I supposed to do with that? You know, it just goes on and on and on, and my ringer's not turned off. So I don't know what I can do. I mean, I could have not had the contest and then not had to worry about it. That's what most, like, take Rush Limbaugh. He's got 2 employees, and he makes $50 million a year. And, you know, basically it all goes to him, which is fine. That's his money, great. The whole point is, I'm here trying to build something, trying to do something complex. I'm doing trailblazing stuff, so it's going to come off like a train wreck sometimes. So, I mean, what's the name of your contest piece? And we'll look it up.
It's called Uncle Sam, The Search for Liberty. And the inspiration is basically the answer to 1984 is 1776. So we take what...
And you're saying out of 300 entries that we have there on the site, if we couldn't put 600 up, it already messes the site up to have 300, you're saying you never saw your piece?
No, the piece is there. We're top 10 in everything. I just don't see us in the finalists.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't really judge these here on air, so it all just kind of runs together. And I know there's going to be, the one reason I almost don't do these contests is there'll be disappointments out there. We've had contests before when people don't win, they take their video down. It's like, why would you take the work you've done that's to wake people up down if you don't win the contest? So, like I said, I was asked about this before the show today, and I was like, I can't give you an answer sitting here right before I go on air about the 35 finalists. And then they were asking, and then I had to have each department actually came to me. I'm not complaining. It's just that I'm not good at organization or something. I had each department involved in this come to me, hitting me during breaks. And I don't even have time to go look at it. So, I mean, you know what? I'm going to make the announcement because we're going to announce the winner in the middle of next month. I appreciate your call, sir. Because I'm not going to sit here and let something this important get screwed up like this. I told everybody we could take our time. I told everybody we'd try to announce it in July, but if we got a bunch of entries, we wouldn't. Because, I mean, tell you, I want to make sure every entry gets looked at. Because I kept seeing everybody look at the same videos over and over again like they were new and then not see other videos. So, again, you imagine yourself trying to judge 600-plus videos. And those are 600 that follow the rules. There were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of others that were okay but didn't follow the rules. Like, you've got to say Infowars.com somewhere in there. I've got to get enough traffic back to the site to try to get that money back so I can continue. So, and I can tell it's going to be an absolute nightmare. But it doesn't matter because the real victory happened. You made the films. They're out there. I'm in the arena. It isn't pretty. It isn't perfect, but I'm trying as best I can. Paul in New Jersey, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, Alex. Bottom line is the Illuminati is trying to destroy the creation of God on earth here. That's the main bottom line. It's Satan running loose. People don't know it. And
no, that's it. In every culture, evil gets in control and everything goes crazy. And people always say, oh, we're just having fun. Oh, let the government do what it wants. And then hell gets released. Yes, sir.
And another thing, I like people find that Aaron Russo film, Freedom to Fascism. Now, I'll tell you about the income tax.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna. I had a couple showings already, but I'm having another showing in my township here. So, I've been trying to get the word out for like 40-some years. It's unbelievable. But I don't know how we were taken over. We're under the UCC. We're not under the Constitution anymore. I found that out in court. And I was on parole, and I got taken back before the judge again, and I tried to hand him a Constitution, and he said to me, don't bring the Constitution to my court.
Oh, they say that on the news all the time. They're like, one thing's not allowed in court now. That's the Constitution. That's the enemy. We have an occupied, globalist-run government run by a bunch of demons that are wrecking our society by design. Godzilla couldn't do this much damage. We'll be back. Folks, I got to play this. It's up on Infowars.com. It won't be as funny on radio, but here's Paul Watson's commentary. Exclusive footage of birth of royal baby. And
it's Paul Joseph.
Yeah, and have they announced yet, guys, if it's male or female? Because you'd think this is all that matters in the whole world. They have not done that yet, but don't worry. I'll be hosting the Nightly News tonight. They're letting everybody get to a fever pitch. Is it a boy or girl? As if they don't know. As if they haven't done ultrasound. And we're going to let you know who the new royal is. This is so important. But actually, we have hidden camera footage of the birth of the baby, and I'll narrate this here with Paul Watson's report. This is the exclusive at Infowars.com. We also have an exclusive leaked photo on my Twitter, Real Alex Jones, of the baby. We are defiling the disgusting institution of fawning after royalty. I also make fun of Kim Jong-un, and I hope you're angry about it. Here we go.
What annoys me about those who are so down on the royal family, who criticise our great British institution so much, is the fact that, look at North Korea, such a fantastic example, so loyal to the state. The death of Kim Jong-il, the recent funeral, crying, worshipping at his feet.
The hereditary
and us
leader.
Brits take that as a genuine expression of patriotism, and we mimic it with the royal wedding, with the royal baby.
Absolutely.
And that North Korean worship of state is exactly what we need to express our patriotism
and the hereditary
in
dictator.
Britain via the cherished royal family.
It's the same thing.
Because North Korea is only doing what Brits have done for hundreds of years. That is worship an archaic hereditary dictatorship
yes.
with all the trinkets and baubles that go along with that. Now everybody is completely obsessed about yet another distraction, just as they were with the royal wedding last year.
Kate
Now it's the
Middleton.
turn of the royal
Look,
baby.
they had to get a commoner.
Let's just not concern ourselves with the fact that while Brits are saying
That's why
they
she's not
face
ugly. She's
decades of austerity with more tax rises and spending cuts worth £60 billion, Queenie has just given herself a 5% pay rise,
Queenie,
bringing her annual income up to £38 million. That's right.
No,
the
she
Queen
has
was
billions a year.
struggling, making ends meet, so she needed that extra little bit. Now it's £38 million a year for Queenie to pay her expenses. I hasten to add, of course, that she owns 6,600 million acres of land, which is 1/6 of the Earth's entire non-ocean
Yeah, we should the largest
surface.
landowner encyclopedia.
So, you know, if it's good enough for North Korea, then it's good enough for Great Britain. Because royal worship is state worship.
Oh, Kim Jong-un.
And we're being bombarded
Kim Jong-il.
with it once again as the British economy melts down. Decades more austerity. Queen gives
It's like
herself
Obama
a pay
supporters
rise.
worshiping. Look.
And just like these North Koreans, everybody once again bows down.
Oh, we love
and
you,
worships
government. We ought to do that at the
royal
TSA.
family's feet. This is Paul Joseph Watson reporting for Infowars.com.
They ought to make citizens here in the U.S. do that at the TSA, like we fall down and go, worship. You just to prove you're not a terrorist. You know, worship government. Agenda 21 is like Godzilla attacking Western cities. Because, see, Godzilla owns the factories in China and Mexico and India. So he's a corporate banker boss. And so he goes and wrecks his competition. I mean, that's good old-fashioned crony capitalist business. And so that's basically, now I'm going to start referring to Obama as the Pacific Rim Category 5 kaiju. Let's go to Angelo in New York. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex, I'm a long time, first time. It's a pleasure to be on with you. Just real quick, I'm a New York City school teacher. Just the trance that people are in. Media bias. 1, 17-year-old kid shot in Brooklyn this weekend, black child. No press coverage, small little article in the paper. Number 2, a story on Al-Qaeda. I'm talking to someone in a bagel store. They look at me like I'm crazy when I tell them that we're funding them in Syria, okay? And when I show them my phone, because I keep everything on my Safari, the look on their face is like this heartbroken look. And it's kind of sad to look at them, you know? And
other people say, why do you like the terrorists? I'm going, NATO's funding them. Here's mainstream news admitting it. I'm not the one doing this. They act like you're the one doing it. Like, hey, they set up the Boston bombing patsies. Here's the evidence. Why do you support those killers? And I'm like, don't you understand? They've been set up. I'm not saying they did it and I support them. It's like childlike minds. It's unbelievable.
I was just going to say that to you. The distraction of the Trayvon Martin case, I mean, that photo breaks open the whole narrative that the government was telling you about the Boston bombing. Just real quick on the police state here in New York, this is the capital of tyranny. My cousin was pulled over this weekend. He was smoking. I brought back a couple of Opus-X cigars, you know, Fuente. He was smoking it in the car. They pull him over, say, you were smoking pot. You were smoking pot. They ransack his car. They cuff him, arrest him, no Miranda rights read. They ransack the car with just, it's just out of control here. I got to get out of
Oh, no. Cops now all over the country go in people's houses saying, oh, we're doing a drug investigation, no warrant, and then don't even find anything. They just do what they want now, and that's what tyranny is just a wall of government acting however they want. Cassandra in Maryland, you're on the air, Cassandra. Go ahead.
Alex, I've been listening to you ever since I saw that Piers Morgan interview. I didn't hear about you before then, but anyway, I'm going to make this quick. I called just to let you know I think you were a little off about the whole Trayvon Martin case. I found evidence myself. Trayvon Martin's father is a Freemason. He had all of his Freemason symbolism. I'm black, and I fell into the scam of the whole thing in the beginning of how Trayvon Martin was innocent. I think it was all a setup. I heard that George Zimmerman's dad was a judge. I think that this was all a scam to start race wars in America. And
well, ma'am, I think the media is trying to do that, but I mean, most Masons are humanitarians and don't even know that higher up it's Illuminati manipulated. So, I mean, just because his dad was a Mason, I don't think that means he was involved in it. I mean, I've seen that theory out there, and I'm not poo-pooing what you're saying, but where's the proof? I mean,
well, if that was true, I would understand that, but the pictures that he has that he had on his Facebook wall were not humanitarian pictures. They were pictures of just demon symbolism. It wasn't good stuff he was into, and just how they've taken the case, and I don't really watch the news.
Well, ma'am, I mean, it's clear something's going on with this. Yeah, from day one, the Justice Department went down there. From day one, it's been government run. And, man, stuff's so crazy nowadays, who knows? I mean, I don't think his parents were involved in anything, and I think they're very sad. I mean, let me tell you, just because something could be possible, 1 out of 1 trillion, doesn't mean that it's then the case. I mean, I just don't buy into that, but I appreciate your call. Undoubtedly, they're trying to divide and conquer people along those lines. I'm sorry to Cameron, Steve, and Brenda, and others. I'll be back tomorrow, Lord willing, live, 11 a.m. Central. Please spread the word. And I'm hosting InfoWars Nightly News. Tonight, we've got a lot of special reports and info coming up, 7 o'clock Central at prisonplanet.tv.